So I was in Egypt till I was about 4 years old, and then moved to the UK, and then moved back to Egypt when I was about 10 or 11. And that was probably, looking back at it, was one of the most difficult transitions of my life, because the culture is very different. People are very different. What's expected from you is very different. And then I remember my mom telling me, oh, you're not allowed to do this in Egypt. You're not allowed to do that in Egypt. And as a child, you get really confused. And mental health, I would say the whole of the Middle East really, but especially in Egypt, it's things are really, really behind. And it worries me so much because obviously now that, people trust the system in the UK, which is great. And then, some people would text me and be like, oh, I have a friend who has suicidal thoughts. What do you think I should do?
Yeah.
And then they would say, oh, I'm thinking of taking her to a life coach. And I'm like, what do you mean you take her to a life coach?
Life coach in Egypt?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because one of the issues is, that in Egypt, I don't know about in other areas, but in Egypt, some life coaches, unfortunately, present themselves as psychiatrists, because people don't know the difference between a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a psychotherapist, or a life coach.
Okay.
And it's and I think even in the UK, there's a lot of people who don't know the difference between a psychologist, a psychiatrist, and a psychotherapist. Really. And it's like a whole different, they're completely different from each other. We have completely different types of training. Our job is completely different. We do completely different things. So it's quite a big thing that people need to be aware of.
So there's a lot of unawareness, and there's like a lack of education when it comes to mental health in Egypt. Is that what you found? Or
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think things are improving a little bit now, but then the spectrum is a bit strange, because you get people who don't know anything about mental health at all.
I see.
And then people who think, oh, I need to go to a psychiatrist because I went on a holiday and I wasn't very happy in my holiday for like a week.
Oh, okay.
Or I didn't sleep well for 2 nights, so I need to take sleeping tablets. And then, it's like one extreme to another. While it should be, when you actually need help, you need to go and you need to ask for it, and then that's the help that you'll get.
So you said it's more of a, more ignorance type and lack of education and stuff like that in terms of in the, mental health.
I wouldn't say ignorance, because it's not people's job to know about this.
Yeah. Fair. But it's not the fact that it's like a taboo. It's not like sort of like when people, let's say family members say that they might be depressed and stuff, people like sort of tell them or like hide it, or
it's a massive taboo. It's a massive taboo. And something like schizophrenia, for example, you would find people in the street who are probably homeless and, of extreme poverty. And actually, if you go and speak to these people, some of them at least, you'll find that they actually have schizophrenia, which wasn't treated for about 10 years or 12 years or something. And people just ignored them and run away from them.
Okay.
When all they need is probably some medication for a period. And then they might actually have had a completely normal life before it.
Okay.
But they never got the help at all.
So the main thing was, for you, was the transition period between obviously the West and Egypt, and that's the main thing. You saw the comparisons between the two and adjustment process, which led you down this path.
Yeah, because in a way, I've always wanted to do something where I would feel that I can make a change. And that's when, like, something like surgery, I didn't feel I was very good at it, and I didn't think that I could actually make a change. But my main mission is to kind of, I think still in England, there's a massive stigma, and I think things can improve so much here also. But when you come to the Middle East, that's like a completely different, like anything is really helpful there. Like I gave a presentation, I think it was last summer, talking about postnatal depression in an obstetrics and gynecology conference. And you're talking about their, being professors and, very important people. But a lot of them didn't know much about postnatal depression at all.
Wow.
And when I gave them the statistics, they were like, oh, we didn't know that at all. And I was like, you're a professor, like.
Yeah.